in the Georgia special election to fill Marjorie Taylor Greene's former seat. With just over 50% of the vote in, NBC News can now project that the race for the 14th district will head to a runoff between Republican candidate Clay Fuller, who was endorsed by President Trump, and Democrat Sean Harris, who lost to Greene in 2024. That runoff is set for April 7th. Now remember, Greene resigned late last year after breaking with President Trump over several issues, including his handling of the Epstein files. Aaron, the polls just closed, and we're already making this call. What's the reception to these results? And was this totally expected?
This is somewhat, mostly what was expected here in Georgia's 14th congressional district. I'll tell you, though, here in the room, it doesn't seem as though word has sort of trickled out to folks who have gathered for this watch party. They're continuing to watch results come in on the state's the Secretary of State, the Georgia Secretary of State's website. Clay Fuller is standing at the front of the room, just sort of mixing and mingling with folks.
Hey world, Adam is here, so what just happened? The Republican House majority is hanging by a thread so thin it might snap before the midterms even arrive. Based on what just happened in a special election in Northwest Georgia, Democrats could take control of Congress months ahead of schedule. Right now, the math is 218 Republicans to 214 Democrats. That's a 4-seat margin.
Now, there will be a runoff election to replace former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. You see, none of the candidates cleared the 50% threshold in yesterday's special election for Georgia's 14th congressional district. But the majority of voters cast their ballots for these two gentlemen here, Trump-endorsed Republican Clay Fuller and Democrat Sean Harris. They'll face off early next month. CBS News correspondent Skylar Henry is following this race for us and joins us from Rome, Georgia. Good morning, Skylar. Any surprises, or was this the expected outcome last night?
Well, it depends on who you ask. Certainly, the candidates felt as if they wanted to get those 50% of the vote plus one so that they did not have to go through a runoff next month. But all analysis indicated that because of this crowded field, 17 candidates overall, that this was the expected outcome. We heard from both Fuller and Harris yesterday throughout the day. They were enthusiastic, excited, talking about this race. An interesting one in that it was a bit of a free-for-all in the weeks and months following now former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene's departure from her congressional seat.
But here's what keeps Mike Johnson up at night. Since Trump took office this time around, Democrats have flipped 27 seats. 27 state houses, congressional elections, state Supreme Courts. You know how many Republicans have flipped? 0. Not one. Last night in Georgia's 14th congressional district, the seat Marjorie Taylor Greene used to hold, something impossible just happened.
Just in tonight, Democrats have flipped a state house seat that covers parts of Clark and Oconee counties. The vote to fill a vacancy after State Representative Marcus Wiedauer resigned to focus more on his business. Well, according to the Secretary of State's office, Democrat Eric Gisler is the apparent winner tonight over Republican Mac Dutch Guest.
17 candidates ran, 12 Republicans, only 3 Democrats. In a district, Trump won by 37 points. A district so red it glows. And a Democrat, retired Brigadier General Sean Harris, pulled almost 40% of the vote against a Trump-endorsed Republican who barely cleared 34%. Let that sink in.
And so I don't know that they're looking at the numbers in the way that our team has been able to call it at this point. I will say again that this is the outcome that was largely expected. I talked to Clay Fuller earlier today, the obviously leading Republican candidate here, and he told me that he thought that this would end with a runoff between him and Sean Harris, the Democrat here who ran against Marjorie Taylor Greene in 2024, who also racked up about 35% of the vote in that election, running ahead obviously now with the numbers we're looking at of what he did in 2024. Clay Fuller, though, the candidate who was backed by President Trump in this race, felt confident coming into today that this would turn in his favor, at least among the 12 Republicans who were vying for the votes of their constituents here. Now, I point out the fact that there were 12 Republicans running in this special election.
A Democrat got 40% in a district where Trump won by 37, against 12 Republicans splitting the vote. And now there's a runoff April 7th between Harris and the Trump-backed candidate, and every national Democratic donor is about to flood that district with money. This isn't an isolated fluke. This is a pattern. Since 2025, Democrats have outperformed Kamala Harris's 2024 numbers in 253 out of 283 races. That's 90%. 90% of races where Democrats did better than the party did in the presidential election. Republicans have flipped exactly 0 seats from Democrats. 0. In Arkansas last week, reliably red MAGA Arkansas, a Democrat won a state Supreme Court race by 22 points. In the 70th District State House race, a Democrat won by 15 points in a district no Democrat had carried for over a decade. That was last week. Add up all the special elections since Trump took power: Iowa, Pennsylvania, Mississippi, Georgia, Texas, New Jersey, Virginia. 27 races where Democrats beat Republicans. 27 flips, Republicans flipping Democrat seats, 0. The House majority is now so fragile that Johnson can only afford 2 defections on any vote. 2 Republicans break ranks and nothing passes. 3 and the majority functionally disappears. And if Sean Harris wins that Georgia runoff, that margin shrinks even further. This is why Trump is panicking. This is why MAGA is terrified. The coalition that put them in power is crumbling in real time, and they can see it happening. Let's talk about what's driving this. Voters are watching. They see the mass deportation policy that's tearing families apart. They see 5-year-olds picked up and detained. They see ICE raids in churches and schools and hospitals. They see Hispanic Americans chased through parking lots, and Mike Johnson called that a hiccup. A hiccup with Latino voters. That's his word for families destroyed and communities terrorized. Latino voters are abandoning Trump in droves. The gains he made in 2024 are completely gone. He's now underwater with Hispanic voters, especially Hispanic women. Young voters, the bro vote, the podcast bros who supposedly loved Trump. 25% who voted for him say they'd never do it again. 25%. Independents, 70 to 75% have abandoned him. The coalition that won the election is shattered, and Trump has no way to rebuild it. The economy isn't helping. Prices aren't coming down. Gas isn't getting cheaper. Jobs aren't magically appearing. And every day there's another scandal, another cover-up, another Epstein revelation, another judge telling the administration it's operating illegally, another special election showing voters have had enough. The Democrats aren't just winning, they're overperforming. In district after district, Democratic candidates are running ahead of where Harris ran in 2024, sometimes by double digits. In races where Democrats haven't won for decades, they're suddenly competitive or winning outright. That 90% number is the one that should terrify every Republican strategist. In 9 out of 10 races since Trump took office, Democrats have outperformed the 2024 baseline. That's not random variation, that's a wave building. And waves don't wait for November. They start in special elections. They show up in state house races and Supreme Court contests. They manifest in places like Northwest Georgia, where a Democrat gets 40% in a district Trump carried by 37. Johnson's response to all this is to call family separations a hiccup, to pretend mass deportation policies aren't alienating entire voting blocks, to act like a 4-seat majority with 2 Republicans ready to defect at any moment is sustainable. It's not. And the special election results prove it. Let's look at the broader picture. Every time voters get a chance to express an opinion since Trump took office, they've moved toward Democrats. Every single time. 27 races. 27 Democratic gains. 0 Republican gains. That's not a coincidence. That's a verdict. Voters in Iowa, Pennsylvania, Mississippi, Georgia, Texas, New Jersey, Virginia have all sent the same message. They don't like what they're seeing. They don't like the chaos. They don't like the cruelty. They don't like the cover-ups. And they're voting accordingly. The Georgia 14th runoff on April 7th is now a national referendum. If Sean Harris wins, if a Democrat can take a seat Trump carried by 37 points, it changes everything. It means no Republican is safe. It means the map is wider than anyone thought. It means the wave isn't coming. It's already here. Democrats have a real chance to take the House before the midterms even happen. And if they take the House, oversight hearings begin immediately. Subpoenas start flying. Impeachment proceedings restart. the Trump administration loses its ability to block investigations or shield documents. And then in November, with a Democratic House already in place, the Senate comes into play. Take the Senate by a real margin, not just a seat or two, and suddenly you have the votes to pass legislation on affordability, on prices, on the things voters actually care about. You have the votes to confirm judges. You have the votes to govern. The special election results are telling us something important. Voters are paying attention. They see the difference between what Trump promised and what he delivered. They hear Johnson calling family separations a hiccup. They watch Bondi stonewall Congress on Epstein. They see the courts blocking illegal overreach after illegal overreach, and they're deciding they've had enough. The 27 flips since 2025 are just the beginning. The 90% overperformance rate is the warning sign. The Georgia runoff is the next test. And if the pattern holds, if Democrats keep outperforming, keep flipping seats, keep winning races they shouldn't win, then November isn't a question mark. It's a certainty. Trump can't turn this around. He can't undo the damage of mass deportation policy. He can't make Latino voters forget families torn apart. He can't make young voters ignore the chaos. He can't make independents overlook the scandals. The coalition is broken and there's no fixing it. The only question now is how many seats Democrats pick up, how big the wave gets, whether they take the House before November or have to wait for the midterms, whether the Senate flips by a little or by a lot. Johnson's hiccup comment will be played in every Latino voter's feed between now and November. Every ad will show him dismissing the pain of families ripped apart. Every Spanish-language commercial will remind viewers that the Speaker of the House called their suffering a minor inconvenience. The young voters who drifted toward Trump in 2024 are drifting back. The independents who held their nose and voted for him are holding their nose and voting against him now. The suburban women who never really trusted him are confirming they were right all along. The special elections are the canary in the coal mine, and that canary is dead. 27 races, 27 Democratic gains, 0 Republican gains, 90% overperformance rate. A Democrat at 40% in a district, Trump won by 37. Arkansas Supreme Court flipping by 22 points. State House seats flipping after a decade of Republican control. This isn't a blip. This isn't temporary dissatisfaction. This is a structural realignment driven by visible, documented failure across every front. The economy isn't working. The immigration policy is cruel and chaotic. The scandals keep multiplying. The cover-ups keep getting exposed. The courts keep saying no. And every time voters get a chance to respond, they say the same thing. They vote Democrat. April 7th is the next test. If Sean Harris wins that Georgia runoff, if a Democrat takes Marjorie Taylor Greene's old seat in a district Trump carried by 37, the panic in MAGA world will be deafening. Because if that seat can flip, any seat can flip. The entire House map becomes competitive, and the majority Johnson is barely holding disappears entirely. Then it's not about whether Democrats take control, it's about how big their majority will be. And with a real majority comes real power. Oversight, subpoenas, impeachment, legislation on affordability and prices, confirmation of judges who actually believe in the rule of law. The special elections are telling us what's coming. The question is whether Republicans are listening. Based on Johnson calling family separations a hiccup, they're not. They're still in denial, still pretending the coalition is intact, still acting like 27 flips and 0 wins is a coincidence. It's not. It's a wave. And waves don't stop for denial. They keep coming until they wash everything away.